Hey there, how you doing? My name's Andy Whitehead. I'm from Recruitment Marketing International. Welcome to Accelerator Week 1, Module 4, taking a view on the recruitment search staffing world. Okay, so first thing, recruitment search, staffing. Often I get told, Andy, I'm in search, I'm different, etc., etc. Hopefully by now you've understood, and it's now starting to resonate, that we want to build a business whereby we know who the clients are, who the candidates are, we know the exact number of clients, exact number of candidates, and build a system to bring the clients in and build the candidates in, okay? So whether recruitment search or staffing, the high level principles we're dealing with right now are the same. Now granted, when we get into authority, when we get into scale, when we get into virtual assistants, when we get into whole set of different variables, things will be unique in some ways, but principles, don't lose sight of the basics here. So here's what we're going to cover. Number 1, what taking a view on the recruitment world means and why it's important. Number 2, the madness of crowds, one of my favorites. Number 3, the crowd says money doesn't make you happy, they say. Number 4, why not following the crowd means retained, higher fees, repeat clients. Let's jump in. So what taking a view on the recruitment world means and why it's important. So taking a view on the world is when you step outside. So you step outside the forest, look down, and you see every tree is the same with a few minor differences, bigger branches, different colours, but they're all tightly packed trees. And when I came into recruitment, I guess I was fortunate in lots of ways. Compared to now, I was relatively young. And I've been in the corporate world, so in investment banking and in media, in IT, project management, program management, since 1996. So it's a good sort of 15 years or so, I guess, at that point of being in investment banking, then going into the media space after that. So when I came into recruitment, I essentially got asked, someone heard about me, really cool guy called Mike Walmsley. He said, if you're that good, come and do a presentation to my Pinnacle group, which is his mastermind group. And after that, about half the room contacted me and said, can you work with us? And when I delved into recruitment, I was quite gobsmacked about what I saw. So at that point, I left the corporate world and I was working with automotive companies, sales companies, recruitment companies. And as I say, recruitment really chose me. And what I saw when I got into recruitment was, wow, this is crazy. It's a massive opportunity, but it's crazy. So in the recruitment world, you are a recruitment business owner, or you're a manager in recruitment. And your path might have been, you've been working for the man, you've been working at a different agency, and then you decide to leave and set up your own business. Or maybe you've been in business yourself for 20 years and you've seen what you've seen. Maybe you're someone who, which rarely happens, but we've got a really cool member right now who's in this position, a consultant, and this person's in the gaming industry. So they've been in the gaming industry and they've been at the rear end of recruitment, and they've now come into recruitment because they realise there's a big opportunity there. But whatever your view is, you've come from one angle. And when I came into recruitment, I was looking down on the industry and I was blown away. And I remember saying, just going back a decade plus, it's like the Wild Wild West. This is I'm gobsmacked about what I'm seeing. And what happens is this: I was doing my thing. I remember I went through a really, really tough time. I remember one of the things I was trying to push at the beginning was webinars for recruitment search business owners, and I was using the word webinar, and of course everyone now knows, especially after COVID and Zoom, etc. But this is like 10, 11 years ago, and I used the word webinar, and it didn't sink in. Then I changed the language to online seminar. Boom, the business owner got it. In the same way that I remember dealing with a recruitment company, and they were using language of developer versus coder, and as a coder or a developer, it's actually a different language, and it resonates with that individual differently. So when I came into recruitment, I was looking down this going, wow, this is an opportunity. But because you're in it, you can't see that the word coder versus the word developer is got a big impact on the individual. And if you take it up another level, perhaps about growing a business, you don't know what you don't know. So what I saw was was very fortunately, I had some really cool people come to me in those days. Mike Walmsley, Roy Ripper, some other really cool guys introduced me to lots of cool people. I remember going into an agency in London on a day rate, went in a consultancy manner, and they're a great company, fantastic company. The owner was wonderful. I remember going in there and I was like, wow, they had a marketing person, and I was just blown away by how basic these things were. I remember I also was given a referral to go into another business in North London, big business. They had 40, 50 desks in this office. I also remember what was really cool, above each desk there was a flag, a different country's flag. I think it must have been for their different desks locations. However, I went to this company and they had a marketing director, and the marketing director was the former marketing director of ICI, which is, if you don't know, a big company. And they were paying, I think it was £4,000 a week for pay-per-click. It's something like that. Crazy money on pay-per-click. And that was the cool thing then in those days, PPC. And it was straight away, it's like, listen, your clients are not sitting there looking for you. Your clients are inundated with just a million calls a day, a million emails a day. They're not sat there looking for you. Now, if you're doing an authority strategy whereby it might be your front of mind and it's retargeting, different, but this wasn't. And I was blown away how these mistakes are being made by massive companies. So of course, when I started working with smaller companies, which is generally who we work with now, so we generally work with companies which are size 1 to 5, 1 to 10. We have companies in different size 10 to 50, but most are sort of 1 to 5, 1 to 10, because they know they need to make a change. They haven't got the corporate backing, they haven't got the investment, they haven't got the venture capital, etc. They know things need to change now. And when I started working with these companies, it was like a breath of fresh air, because they didn't know what they didn't know. And I found very quickly that, obviously I'm from the UK, but I found very quickly my friends in the USA were a lot easier to work with because they were open to change. And, Australia has always been good for us. Obviously UK, Europe, Canada's been fantastic for us. And the US and the Canadians have been more open to change, which is great. So this thing happens in recruitment. There's this madness of crowds thing going on, which is everybody does the same thing. Everybody does the same thing. And it's pretty crazy when you think about it. So when we get into accelerator, when we get into build, when we get into scale, and we have members who go from doing 200k to doing 1 million, members saying, right, I expect to do 300k in the next quarter based on the following. It becomes predictable because they've got a model, you see, but it's a new model. It's a new model. So when we take a view on the recruitment industry, it's also taking a view on you and your history, because we've been conditioned. If I've been conditioned all my life to believe that cold calling is the way forward, it's going to take a hell of a lot for me to be told otherwise. So I've got 20 years of doing it and probably got success at it. So we need to be aware of who's around us and what we're seeing. And there is this madness of crowds in recruitment like I've in my years I've never seen before. It's crazy. So what I believe I'm very good at, and this isn't from ego, it's from outcome and results, is I'm very good at reverse engineering the steps. So you want to get to X. So we want to get to 1 million. I want to get to 1 million. And your fee is 50k. That's 20 placements per year, yeah? Then we got how many conversion appointments do we need? How many candidates do we need? Now this is base stuff, really. Base stuff. But then what if we can improve the lead? What if we could 3x the leads? What if we could 3x the conversion? What if we could 3x the delivery? That's now a completely different business. What about if we can just increase the leads by 10%? If we just increase the conversion by 10%, we just increase the delivery by 10%, just 10%, your business grows by a third. So what I've been very good at since coming to recruitment is observing the industry and simplifying it. And what that takes is an unemotional view of things. Now, because I'm open about this, I'm not from recruitment. When I worked at B-Sky B, and it became the largest CRM implementation in Europe at the time. It's the infamous project whereby EDS, Electronic Data Systems, went under. And at the time, I got hired to EDS in Canary Wharf, And EDS then sent me to Scotland to work on this project. And essentially, short version is EDS were fired off, with hundreds of people fired off, and they kept, I think, 8 of us, and I was one of the 8 they kept. And very quickly, I was in at the deep end. I've come from being a system team leader to a system test manager rather. And before you know it, we've got a team of 75 people, myself and another gentleman, and we had a rapid growth cycle. I had a very, very cool head of business above me, fantastic guy called Scott. But what I saw very quickly was the way that Scott operated and the way that these businesses operate from a recruitment side of things is they fucking hate recruitment. Excuse my language. They hate dealing with HR. HR hate dealing with them. They hate dealing with agencies. And I saw firsthand an agency who became my agent. So I had a team of 75. But when it started, it was, I had 8 in my team. So it grew and grew. This agent, I think, is probably sat on the beach now from the back of that project. So I've seen the back end of things from recruitment on a big project. And when I've come into recruitment, into the industry, and say it chose me, I was like, wow, this is pretty cool for those who want to do it. So why does every recruiter have a big bit of mindset? So what I mean by that is, why do we maybe think about 360 recruitment? Why do we still think about hitting the phones? Why do we still go networking? Why do we make sure we keep in contact with our 8 companies we've always dealt with for the last 20 years? Why are we not looking to, get a plan in place to truly scale here? We're 60 and we want to retire in 10 years. Things aren't going to change by doing the same things. So why are we not applying the tools and strategies from other industries? And that was a key thing. When I got into recruitment, I was working with other industries. And when I came into recruitment, it was pretty cool to see, I've been in IT now for 20 years. The internet in its current guise started in 1995. And I was in investment banking in 1996 at Nomura. And all I knew was online. And being in the system test industry to start with, and then progressing into management, all I saw was the systematic way of thinking. And then when I've come into recruitment, I'm like, wow, even these big companies are just, what are they doing? I remember dealing with a large company, you all know it, a credit company. At the time, they were worth 13 billion. They flew in their talent acquisition team from around Europe, about 40 people there. And that day's training was around LinkedIn. And these were base principles. Base principles. And it became really clear that for those who are open to change, there's a massive opportunity. So when we have members like Darren Franks, I mentioned in the previous call, and Darren almost didn't accept into the inner circle, we were butting heads, but he was just making sure I knew my stuff. When he says he 10x his business, or we've got Ken McCarthy doing 30k a month when he joined us and gets to 250k a month. I get it sounds like BS, but you can go and find the guys on the case study pages and you can reach out to them as long as you're cool. But I don't recommend you do, just be cool. But these guys, connect with them inside the Facebook group, tag them in, ask them questions. You can see their questions in there. And these are the same guys that when we get together live in London that we used to do pre-COVID, and hopefully we can reconvene doing that, we get together 3 times a year, usually in the Grand Connaught Rooms in London. So big palatial place, right in the middle of Covent Garden, 2 days. Day 1 is new strategy, and day 2 is letting out your plan for the next 90, 120 days. So we've got these 2 solid days, and we go out for food, drinks, and evenings, and it's great fun. And normally I've created a workbook of around about 140 pages. Awful lot goes into that, and members flying from around the world. At the last event, on day 2, one of the things we did is we did a panel, and in that panel we had members who had 10x'd, 5x'd, and around that sort of level. What was interesting, when this panel was being interviewed by the group, those taking the most notes were those on the panel. So that sense of being humble and being an observer, they don't know everything. That's a key thing. I can't stress that enough. Be open to change. So why are things trending this way now? Well, things are changing hugely, as we know. Things are changing hugely. And it's almost a case of we're hiding the way to do things. We're hiding the way to do things. It's become even more prolific since the onset of COVID because everyone's gone online now. The guys and girls who didn't want to go online and now sort of being forced online. So you've got the Wild Wild West, now version 2. Everyone's trying to do something. So you've got more noise. So if you look down at the status quo, see what's going on here, it's like, right, there's a lot of BS in the marketplace. Like we've had it ourselves. See me 1 second. We've had it ourselves. We've had people come to us, Andy, been following you for 8 years. Now's the time. Other people, I've seen you 15 minutes ago. Where do I sign up? And then we've had this new thing happen in the last sort of 6 to 12 months. Is so-and-so does this, so-and-so does that. Why are you different? And if so-and-so actually is a recruiter who's not making money from recruitment and now has set up a bogus, if you want to call it that, page on how to get leads. And you've now got this distortion of the truth. So you need to ask yourself the question, is everybody believing a lie? And the lie is, does the old model work? No. The new models, right? What is the new model? Now remember, you're building a business. So think about where things are going here. Things are going to be remote forever now. Now you might have an office, but things will be remote forever. There'll be particular niches that are going to take off more than others. So I've mentioned on some modules, as things stand right now, we've got cybersecurity, we've got online logistics, we've got blockchain, etc., etc. We've got these things happening. However, if your outcome is to do $1 million and your fee is 20k, that's 50 placements for 20k. What about like Laura? What if we could double your fee so you become the number one in the niche? So if we think about what we want to achieve here, don't get lost in the noise in the marketplace. Also, don't think that you need to do something so hugely different and unique. It's going to create overwhelm. It's not. It's about doing some of the things you've always done and adding something new. So we've got legacy, what you've always done. Then you're going to add in some new strategies. Then it might become you only do new strategies, but step by step. So don't believe everything you're seeing on the mainstream media. And what I mean by that is twofold. Number one is the way that you will become successful in your business is by the actions you take every day. The actions you take every day depend on what your mindset is or how your body is. And body's key with this as well. We are a biophysical, mental being, and what we put into our bodies drives how we think and feel. If I've gone to the gym in the morning, my day is completely different from if I've not gone to the gym in the morning. If I get out of bed and my alarm goes off at 6:30 and I get out of bed at 6:30, my day is different from if I get out of bed at 6:45, 7:30. So know about this. When we look at the media and what's going on, quote, with the economy, I suggest you don't do that. Because the reality is, all of you now, whether you want to be doing 2 million or 200k, that is a number. Andy, I'm a starter, I want to do 200k. Right, what's the fee? Well, most people are charging 15k, I'm going to charge 10k. As an example, I'm not saying you would do that. Great, so you need 20 placements. Yep, right, got it. That's what we focus on. So the mainstream media is designed to give you negative emotional states. Switch it off. If you need to know about the niche, what do you need to know about the niche? You need to know what your client drivers are and your candidate drivers. You don't need to know about the sentiment. So the average recruiter takes an emotional, subjective view of things, and they'll do that based on their own self-image and their own circles. So that there's a great phrase, I can't remember who originally said it, it's Jim Rohn, one of Tony Robbins' mentors. The 5 people you surround yourself with, you'll become. So if you're hanging out with 5 millionaires, you'll become the 6th. If you're hanging out with 5 people who eat 3 McDonald's every day, you'll become the 6th. So be aware about what your social circle is. Be aware about that. It's really important because, again, the way that your business will grow with these strategies is by the action you take every day. By the action you take every day. And that's how you feel emotionally. And most people, they don't question anything. They believe the views of the crowd. I don't do this. It frustrates me, but you can go online and within 5 minutes, if you do a search for recruitment, social media, you're going to be told you need Snapchat, Instagram, blah, blah, blah. We do none of that. None of that. Whether you're looking to get C-suite and a 250k placement fee, or whether you're a startup in the temp industry in the UK. Not needed. So keep your focus on what we're about to go through. Now, you've got to be brave. You've got to do what 99% of people are not doing. And what will be really, really funny is they'll start to follow you. They'll start to follow you. So if I think about what we've been doing inside our programs for years now, going back a decade, and then it moved on. We had the inner circle and some of the inner circle strategies. We put podcasts out there, or we put videos out there, and then the public will go and see this interview with somebody, and it might be something simple like an appointment page on a website. This is a decade ago, and they go and do the same, thinking that the diary before. But you're already moving on to the next thing. So be certain that the time's now to change, and know that people will start to follow you. And the way you want to view this is the following. If you imagine this like in the UK, we've got soccer, we've got football, and we've got Wembley. Or in the US, if you've got Miami Dolphins Stadium, I forget what it's called. But if you're going at the halfway line, okay, on the left-hand side, you've got all your competitors. On the right-hand side, we've got you. In the middle is a massive gap. What we want is that massive gap. We don't want you two crossing over. There should be a massive gap, which is what you're about to do. So, the madness of crowds. Whoops. So, we're getting an understanding about almost the psychology about recruitment and what everybody else is doing. And this is why you have the opportunity that you do right now, because doing the things you're about to do, it's not going to be a complete 180 in terms of what you've been doing or your understanding possibly, but bit by bit, it will be a completely different setup. So what I've seen in recruitment, and I've been asked many times to go on to speak on stage in recruitment. The last time I was in London, years ago now. I, rightly or wrongly, I don't buy into some of the positioning of products, and I buy into the common way of thinking. And I guess it comes from the fact that I'm actually not from recruitment. When I came into recruitment, so a decade ago, it was like, wow. But it's actually a very simple process. So in recruitment itself, so if you go to a recruitment blog now, or if you go to a recruitment automation blog, etc., you're going to get a view about tools or about processes or about fill in the blank based on what recruitment think. Now, one of the things that I did straight away and utilised when I came into recruitment was like, right, I've been in investment banking for so long. I've been in media. I've dealt with automotive companies. Why don't we do this and do this and do this and do this? Boom. We have this big jump, which is why sometimes we've had I was told many years ago there's a gentleman who wrote a blog about me. And at the time, one of my strap lines was double your income, halve your hours. And he wrote a blog about me. Now I don't Google myself, far from it. And essentially, he was saying that's not possible. It's like, well, I expect that's minimum. So the way that recruitment's always been done, and the way they think, is cool. It's cool. But we're in a different world now, and it's moving at a rapid pace. So this herd mentality that we have in recruitment is not your friend. It's not your friend. If everybody is right, we've been told to go on Twitter and do this. No. Remember, leads, conversion, delivery. So there's this way of thinking, and because recruitment has gone through recruitment 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, sort of embraced LinkedIn, embraced social media, but you're a business owner. So the chances are you've not been systematic with your way of thinking about, right, what tool, what process, what automation, what's the actual outcome you're looking to achieve here. I'll write a blog, might have been the thing 6-7 years ago. Right, we'll get on Twitter, might have been the thing 7 years ago. See what we're saying? So this herd mentality is actually killing you. Because we're doing something, we think we're doing things right because everyone else is doing it, but it's actually wrong. So again, be aware of your social circles. Now, inside these programs over the years, I've got countless satellite groups. We've had companies created. We've had so many joint ventures I've lost count over the years. One of the things we have, I think back, maybe 7-8 years, the first time it happened, we had a member say, well, this person's inside my niche. I'm not going to join if he's inside my niche. Well, fine. You're at a loss here. Also know this, you want to be doing, let's say, for example, I don't know, 1 million. So you need 50 placements. There are 10,000 roles going to be advertising your niche in the next year. Do you really think you've got competition? And then those who come from a place of abundance, they actually joint venture and work together. So we've had members, for example, Terry and Jamie, both were very, very systematic with building up their data set. So one, I believe, if you go to Model Success and Scale, you'll find the actual interviews on here. One built up the data sets for candidates, one for clients in FMCG, and they work together. We've had members working, actually create new businesses, actually whole businesses. I've been asked to go into business with members. Hey, Andy, why don't you come on board as this? And I've always been a proponent of, man who catches 2 rabbits catches none. But the point is this, you've got no competition inside these programs. And if you're someone inside the same niche, you should be buddying up. You should be buddying up here. So your social circles, your personal friends, the media that you watch and listen to is so important. And the actual internal leadership, like the way you run your day, make sure you run the day doesn't run you. And be aware, actually, what you're doing here is pretty simple. I spoke to, I'll say one of our more senior members, been with us now about 4 or 5 years, and I was chatting to this gentleman and said, listen, the way that your niche is going, I think you should maybe take a SaaS route to conversion. So SaaS is, as you know, software as a service. And the way that SaaS often operates is they target their decision maker, number one. Number two, they set up a demo. And number three, they convert. And most of the conversion comes from the follow-up. Now, in this niche, this member had an outstanding client attainment system. And they had, I can't remember the exact number, but pretty much all the candidates in their niche in their data set. And they had an outstanding CAS, as I said. So I was saying, how about if we set up a process whereby rather than we get into a conversation of, right, let's use, I don't know, RRR or LinkedIn or whatever, or a podcast strategy to get appointments, then we have a conversation, then we get into, the T&Cs being signed, terms and conditions. How about this? How about we think big here? What if we could get 200 of your potential clients actually seeing a demo of your system every month? If they see that, all the objections will be overcome. So they'll book a call in your diary. They will see the demo, so that the conversion's already been done, and they're going to follow up. So the whole dynamic changes. It means an increase in fees, increase in retained, etc. Now, the reason why that's good is because there's some very simple metrics. Number one, how many? So if we used a strategy to get people to see a demo, how many opened the message? How many clicked on the link? Number two, how many came to the page? How many actually attended the demo? Number three, how many followed up from the demo and booked a call with you? So from those 3 steps, all you've got is 6 metrics there. So the entire business changes from, right, we've got 5, 6 different salespeople. No, let's make this into a one-to-many strategy. So when you start thinking this way, you have a completely different way of operating as a business owner. So be aware of who's around you. And again, inside this group, there's magic. So by nature, what we do as humans, we want to fit in. We want to fit in. I've been a massive proponent of not fitting in, and it's not out of me being egotistical, it's not out of me being just belligerent. It's more about frustration. When I left the corporate world, I spent an absolute fortune on my own mentoring, and to this day, I've spent probably 7 figures plus, definitely on my own education. A guy called Jay Abraham, which going back about 20 years, Jay Abraham is probably the world's most preeminent marketer. He deals with sort of corporate marketing. I remember maybe 7-8 years ago, he brought in about $8 billion worth of business. And obviously now it's a lot more than that. But in those days, I remember spending about 100,000 literally on CDs. In those days, you'd be delivered like 20, 30 CDs in a big pack, not on a USB stick or going to the cloud as it is now. And by listening to these people, nothing to do with recruitment, nothing to do with what I was looking to achieve. It was about putting good stuff in at a high level. And then I remember I had a gentleman who I saw, and this is why I worry sometimes about, I'm not saying everyone in recruitment, but this is what I saw firsthand. This gentleman had apparently done a webinar. He'd done a webinar and he brought in, I can't remember the exact number now, it's years ago, but brought in, say, $750,000 from one webinar. Anyhow, I ended up buying into his course, which essentially was all you got was his slides. So you got 40, 50 slides, and then you had a 45-minute call with him. That was pretty much it. That's pretty much it. I'm not exaggerating there. It wasn't like a behind it, 20 video thing. There was like a Facebook group where you checked in. What I didn't know was those who attended the webinar were actually sent to that webinar via joint venture partners, which means they were warm, they'd been warmed up, and they'd been pre-converted. But what I've been given was the slides and of the webinar. But actually what got the conversion was the actual work before the webinar. So I'm very aware about the bigger picture here. And when someone says this tool, or someone says this thing, right, what's the outcome? The outcome is my member wants to do 500K. To do that, they need to place 20 roles. To place 20 roles, they need ABC. Right, how does that fit into it? And you need to take that same view. Don't be drilled into this, fitting into everyone else. And what you'll start to get when you get these results is you'll start to get this inner steeliness and pride about you going against the grain. But then also, you're inside this group now. We're actually on our own grain. We're on our own grain. And the things we were maybe doing 6 years ago, we're not doing now. The things we're doing now, we won't be doing in 3 years' time, etc., etc. So we're always upgrading. So be aware of who you're spending time with and who you're speaking with. Be aware of your social circle. Now, in your own circles right now, so you may be going to networking events, you may be part of a local recruiting group, etc. What I recommend is you keep your mouth tight. You keep it tight. Focus on your game. Focus on your game. I've seen a definite shift in people in the last 3, 4, 5 years. I like leading people and helping people. But something's happened, whether it be social media. There's been various reports and white papers written on how teenagers since 2012, I think it was, since the iPhone became mainstream, and the impact on depression. But there's an impact on people's actual view of being helped. So what I recommend is this. The best way you can help people around you is by leading by example. Get your shit done. Get your shit done. Now we've got a referral system. So if you refer someone to us, they come on board, we're going to pay you handsomely. I mean, handsomely. We'll pay 35% of what they of their membership, because I think that's a cool thing to do. But also get your house in order first. Get your house in order first. Now, I've mentioned the double your revenue, double your time off. But this is a warning about your own business. Who you surround yourself with, you become. So this is now decision time for you. You've joined Accelerator. You're here now. This is now the time. This is it. It's changing. There'll be good times, there'll be bad times. But ultimately, you're going to look back and go, good. And one thing I've seen with recruitment entrepreneurs, I think it's just entrepreneurs all around, is, and it's one of our fantastic traits, but also for our spouse, it's probably a really, really bad trait. Let's say, for example, I'll be transparent with myself. I was at a friend's wedding in Lake Como. I was best man years and years ago. I just lost all that property post 2008 crash. I said to my friends, right, I'm starting this new business. I'll be earning £30,000 a month, working a couple of hours a day with the next amount of time. And they all laughed, etc. As you do, it's your friends. However, that happened. And then the next bit happened. The next bit happens. But my friends have always looked at me as without being egotistical, a leader. I said, I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. So with your business, become that leader. You're now doing something that other people have not done. So don't take this time as I've just bought a course or whatever. No, this is it now. This is changing time. So build your business, build your life, build your legacy. And don't bend to the herd. Pains me to say it, but often they're weak. So be that lion, lead yourself, and then lead by example. Because people have become even more insular in the last few years. In recruitment, even more so. This is your time now. Now, the crowd says money doesn't make you happy. I'm trying to think about the right tone to share this message. Now, without a poor little old me story, I come from a working class background. We grew up in a house with an outside toilet. My dad comes from the most roughest place in Glasgow. And in Scotland, we've got our own story. But also, I think those stories are what makes people get sharp. So if you've always had money, kudos to you. I don't think most people haven't had money. There's also a thing about earning money. But I tell you what, when you lose everything, you sure as damn it know, you say to yourself, that's never going to happen again. And in terms of this money thing going on now, I see it and I challenge it and I question it, but I want to do it with you right now, is you need to be open to bringing in more money into your life. So I know it's a crazy thing to say. You're in recruitment. And then if you think about the recruitment avatar, who is a recruiter? And if you ask, Joe Public, who is a recruiter? They probably draw a second-hand car salesman, but in a really sharp suit and a bit more eloquent with the language, possibly. It's not a good image often. And sometimes that proliferates through into what we think about ourselves. However, all of those, well, pretty much all the members I've met over the years, we've met live, we've met on calls, etc., met in London. They're cool people. And I think sometimes, we have members come to us who've been doing 300k for 10 years. There's a mental block. And I'm not saying about, do I deserve this, etc. But what I'm saying is you need to be aware that money literally is it's a metric in terms of your number of placements made, appointments, candidates. It's that. But then sometimes what happens, and it's got Tony Robbins here, is this self-sabotage thing happens. And I'm not going to get into psychology and all that stuff right now in any big way. However, I know what you're about to go through works. There's thousands now of case studies on this. It works if you do it. If you get a metric, the metric isn't what you want. You get the feedback. It's literally a feedback loop. You change it. You change a few points in that campaign. So be open to bringing more money in. Now, I'm only putting this in here because I thought this is woo-woo, but then I thought, no, I've actually had this conversation countless times over the years with people as well. And the gentleman I mentioned on the previous module, who 15x'd in a year, in COVID, that was me giving him a boot, to be frank. But the guy's an absolute legend. He's actually one of the funniest guys in the world as well. And in his own world, in his own way, he's so confident and cocky. He sends me messages of him doing this and doing that. He sent me a message of, here's my brand new Porsche and another, I think it's a Lexus. He's moved from New York into, I think, Texas. Then another text comes through. He's on a yacht with like 20 women. This is literal. If you go to Model Success in the members area, go down to about number 30-ish, you'll know who we're talking about. Absolute legend. But how'd that change come about from 80k to doing millions? How'd that change come about so rapidly? In his state. So whether you've got a mental block around, do you deserve it, or talking about it, or whatever it is, what I found is over the years, and I've got first-hand experience of this, and to this day it's around the house, and it will always be, you need to be extremely clear about what you want. So not just say, I want to grow the business. I want to do 950,000 this year. If you go to Napoleon Hill and you search for the, if you Google Napoleon Hill, if you look for the statement, you'll probably find it. I've had that made into 36 by 24 inch posters. So I've got one in the gym, one in the hallway, and go and find that yourself. But your subconscious drives your behavior. So get cool with having money. Because also, when things are going good, they can go up. And this member of mine, who has done extremely good things, I sent him a message, he was texting me, and he said this, and he sent me a message saying, I've got a ticket for you to go to Malta to this outdoor event thing, but obviously got kids, can't be doing that. He said, Andy, his words not mine, Andy, you're a genius. I want to pay you back. And again, his words not mine, but I want to make the point that what we're doing works. And he sent that over, and I sent a message back to him, and the message back was about, right, this. And it was about keeping your money. He's made it, now keep it and scale to the next level. So as soon as you make it, you get into that good cycle. You can also get into a negative cycle. I went from 250k per annum as a young man. I was earning £1,000 a day as a young man in my 20s. Lost everything in that 2008, but I'd already made the decision to leave the corporate world. Unfortunately, I'm good at this stuff. But I know where I'd rather be. I'd rather have money than not have it. So to make money in recruitment and in search, you must sit above the noise. You can't look at all the blogs online. You can't look at all the silly dappy idiots going, and I'm going to say what it is, because people shouldn't be putting advice out there which isn't proven. Get on Snapchat and do this, or whatever garbage it is. It's simple. Leads, conversion, delivery. Handful of metrics. Then we add authority to it. Then we add scale to it. Then we add team to it. So be 1%. Do not follow the herd. You've got 24 hours a day, 24 hours of bars of energy that you can use and spend. So with that time, with that energy, make sure you're focusing on the right things. Now, why not following the crowd? Means retain high fees and repeat clients. So in these programs, Accelerate, Build and Scale, we're going to be using, applying and retaining strategies and documents, campaigns, video, the whole thing that your niche will not have seen before. They will not have seen before. So your beliefs about what you've always done and what you're about to do, there might be a disconnect. So if you want to take what you've always done, almost put it into a box, the good bits you might want to keep using, but want to make a next jump now, And by getting through Accelerator, by getting through Build, by getting through Scale, you're going to be an innovator. So you want to make sure you keep moving forward with this, because you're here for a reason. And being an entrepreneur is tough. This is a great story, but also heartbreaking. Not that I have sleepless nights over this at all anymore, but I created Facebook before Facebook. I created something called Family Connect Online, and I was working away. My gran was in her last days in her home, and I spent I created a set of requirements, and then I had a team in India build a system whereby essentially my gran would press a button on the communal computer and then click on desktop. Up would pop her own different login, and it would then connect to me and to my cousins, etc. And by pressing a button, we'd connect and it would call, and then we'd have chat and all these things, etc. It's called Family Connect. I spent £30,000 in it. I presented it down at Alexandra Palace, the one show that those in the UK will know that were there that day. It didn't take off. I was actually working for B Sky B, I think at the time. I was in the city. But the point is this: I had this idea and I followed it through, but then also had a job. So I knew things were changing. So the beliefs you've got about where you are right now, the beliefs about where you want to get to, they're real. So if you're in Scale, go to Model Success, just keep watching all the interviews and the hot seats. So that's where a member shares their story, how I've gone from doing 250k to $1 million using this webinar strategy. And they share for 90 minutes, 2 hours, the application of what they did. So you don't want to follow the crowd. And if you do something, if you use a new strategy, you're going to learn from it. And that's the key thing here. You're going to learn from what you're doing. And when you look back, you're going to see that when did that change happen? Because as entrepreneurs, we don't stop and celebrate. If you go from 0 to 200k, your goal is to go from 0 to 200k in that year. By the time you got to 150k, you're already planning to get to 300. By the time you got to 200, you're already planning to get to 500. You never stop and celebrate. And that's what we do as entrepreneurs. We never stop. You never stop and look back and say, actually, that was really cool that I did this thing. So what we must do is we must be focused on not being part of the crowd. You want to be part of this crowd now. So what's beautiful about business is you get rewarded for the value you give. So I created this awesome product. When we presented it live in Alexandra Palace, it wasn't complete, and we had two computers, and it was buggy as hell. But you know what? I didn't push it through, so I got rewarded for what I didn't do. I didn't get anything, didn't sell anything. On the flip side, I've been rewarded for the thousands, tens of thousands of hours I've put into where we are now. My wife has seen me in absolute tears over the years, absolute tears. Then we've had the likes of Channel 4, Channel 5, which are big terrestrial companies, asking me to go on TV in front of 8 million people on a Wednesday night. I said no. I like my privacy. I'd actually probably do that now, ironically. But at the time, we just had Aurora, my baby girl. So you get rewarded for what you do. The action you take, you get rewarded. And what you cannot do is blame people. But you know what? I didn't push Family Connect. You've got to take it for what it is. So people imitate you. It's about being an innovator now. Now, everything you're going to go through is proven. It's been done before. But get this mindset. You're special. You're in a special place now. You're special. And get that. Now is your time. Now is your time. You're going against the herd. So summary of what we've covered. Taking a view on recruitment world. Why it's important. The madness of crowds. About money. Being open to it, and why you shouldn't be following the crowds. So with that said, remember this: you're a business owner, not a recruiter. You're a business owner, not a recruiter. That's your key thing. And as always, set your mind on a definite goal and observe how quickly the world stands aside to let you pass.